Matthew Schaefer, the first overall pick in this year's NHL draft, is ready to make his NHL debut. We'll talk about Schaefer's mindset, what Patrick Roy sees, and how ready is he. All that and more next on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
You're Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Wednesday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I'm Gil Martin. I've been covering the New York Islanders for almost 2 decades, and I wrote the book Ice Wars on the history of the Islanders' rivalry with the Rangers from 1972 till the modern era. So glad you could join us to talk a little Islanders hockey. We've got a busy show today. Matthew Schaefer just 1 day away from making his NHL debut. Is he ready? What is his coach saying about him? We will break all of that down for you. We'll also talk about the fact that one thing the Islanders are missing on this roster is an enforcer. How important is that? And we'll talk about the good start to the present season by a few of the Islanders' top prospects. So make sure you join us for that. All the talk right now surrounding the New York Islanders, much of it is around Matthew Schaefer. And understandably so. The Islanders have not had the first overall pick in the NHL draft since 2009, when some guy named John something or other was the first overall pick. And let's face it right now that there have only been 3 other defensemen taken number 1 overall in the last 10 years. Owen Power was the last one. He played 8 games with the Buffalo Sabres his draft year. It is not necessarily typical to have a defenseman playing in the NHL at the age of 18. It just is not typical. And not only that, but his first game, he will be going up against Sidney Crosby. He will be going up against Alex Ovechkin and the Capitals in his second game. So it's kind of like, hey, welcome to the NHL. So just 4 defensemen who have been the first overall pick in the draft, played more than 10 games as 18-year-old rookies. Gord Kluzak back in 1982, Roman Hamrlik in 1992, Aaron Ekblad in 2014, and Rasmus Dahlin in 2018. Schaefer has pretty good odds of joining that club and making it 5. He obviously has a lot of excitement, but he's the one thing that has impressed me more than anything about Matthew Schaefer is his maturity. And he said, you want to take it day by day. You get drafted for a reason, and then you want to go out. You want to forget about the media and stuff and just go play your game. So I think every step of the way was a good step in the right direction, from the draft to preseason to now. I want to keep getting better. I want to keep working on things. But I mean, it's a dream come true. It's a game of hockey, and now the work starts. So I can't wait to get started. And he mentioned he will have family in the arena, his father, his brother's girlfriend. some of his school friends, a lot of people coming to see his NHL debut. And, the key for Schaefer is to focus on getting the job done. He said it's going to be pretty cool. I mean, obviously, I've been playing in the NHL in the preseason and playing against guys like that. But when you get on the ice, you just got to zone it out. I mean, everybody's out there to play hockey. You really don't think about who you're going up against. Obviously, you've got to know what kind of style they play, like a little faster, all that stuff. But I just think going out there, putting your head down, working through it, and just working is going to be the big thing. I don't want to go out there and be just like, oh, I'm going up against him. It's just hockey, right? So you want to go out there and work as hard as you can and forget about who is on the ice. And I think, again, the maturity of Matthew Schaefer, the ability to keep everything in perspective is critical to why he is making this team to start the season. And it will be critical to see whether or not he plays beyond the 9 games that, once you hit game 10, this is the first year of your rookie contract, and that's it. You're in the NHL. You cannot go back to juniors. He cannot play in the AHL. So 9-game audition, and then it's NHL or nothing. Patrick Waugh, after practice on Tuesday, had this to say, and I also found this quote interesting. You watch his swagger, how confident he is on the ice. For an 18-year-old playing with guys who have so much experience and see that swagger, seeing the way he moves, that's what you want from any young player. You want to see them going and having fun with their friends and have that swagger, that confidence, that trust in themselves. The X's and O's are all cool, but at the end of the day, the personality, how they skate, how they handle those rushes. And to take it a step further, Waugh said that confidence, that swagger that he sees in Matthew Schaefer is actually contagious throughout the locker room. Here's what Waugh said. He said, I would say yes, it's a bit like, and I don't want to compare the two players, but when you watch Cale Makar playing, you're excited. I think he has that gift. When I look at him moving with the puck, it's exciting, not just for me or the players, but I think the fans are going to have fun too. And ultimately, we know that Matthew Schaefer is going to have some rough moments out there on the ice. It happens to all rookies, whether you are an 18-year-old first overall pick making his NHL debut, or if you're a 27-year-old who was in the minors for 5, 6, 7 years and finally made it to the NHL, you're going to make your share of rookie mistakes. And yet the confidence that Patrick Waugh spoke of and the way Matthew Schaefer spoke about this game and this opportunity tells you that this kid is mature. He believes in himself, and emotionally, at least, he is ready to get on the ice. The moment is not going to be too big for him emotionally. That's not going to be the issue. And yes, he'll make his share of mistakes, but as we've seen in the preseason, he's also going to make his share of plays. And the things that stood out to me were those 2 defensive plays where he was deep in his own zone and caught up to 2 players to break up potential breakaways and did not have a penalty called on him in either instance. That hustle, that dedication to playing a full 200-foot game, and the confidence in his speed, his skating, his ability, and the intelligence to get puck and stick and not skate and player on both of those plays made a difference. Now, what role is Schaefer going to play? And I don't think this is a surprise. Everydayers will remember I've said this was what I projected his role to be to start the season, and that is most likely what it is going to be. He will be the third pair with Scott Mayfield, at least to tomorrow night in the season opener, and we'll see where it goes from there. And he will be on the second power play unit. And I think both of those roles are going to be important. Hopefully by the end of the season or by next season for sure, he supersedes Tony DeAngelo and becomes the first quarterback, power play of the first quarterback of the first power play unit. And then hopefully, maybe by the end of this season, maybe by next season, he becomes at least the second pair defense group, one of them, rather than the third pair. Gets more minutes, gets the 22 to 25 minutes instead of the 17 to 20 that a third pair guy is more likely to get. We will see. It's all one step at a time for Matthew Schaefer, but the maturity is already there. The skills are there. But one big question we have about Matthew Schaefer, and it's going to carry into our next topic, physicality. Can this kid handle playing against adults, being hit and battling for pucks in the corners with guys who are 10 years older than him and 20, 30 pounds heavier than him and stronger than him? Can he take the pounding? And do the Islanders have players who are willing to stand up and protect him under the circumstances? They don't have an enforcer. We're going to talk about that plus a lot more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed Sponsored Jobs puts your post at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. I've been in that spot where you need to hire like yesterday. Well, the pressure is on, and every day without the right person is a setback. That's exactly where Indeed Sponsored Jobs come in handy. They make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. Now you could speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Again, that is Indeed.com/lockedon. Hiring, Indeed is all you need. Everybody knows that hockey is a physical sport. There is no way around that. You can be a really great skater, but part of the beauty of hockey, part of the skill of hockey is not just can you skate fast, but can you skate fast and avoid guys who are skating almost as fast or just as fast, who are bigger than you at times, in the case of Matthew Schaefer, and who want to stop you. We're going to find out. But one big question, and a lot of comments on YouTube and emails from listeners and viewers have mentioned this team lacks a physical element. They lack an enforcer outright, and they lack a physical element. And you go up and down the lineup. There are some guys who will hit in this lineup. Are there enough of them? That's a different question. But we know Emil Heineman will hit. We know Casey Cizikas, if he can catch people, will hit. We know Maxim Siplikov can hit. We know Mark Gatcom loves to hit. Alexander Romanov likes to hit, but sometimes it puts him out of position, although I think he is lowering the number of times he goes for the big hit and takes himself out of a play. And then what we've seen in the preseason, Scott Mayfield has been the guy who more or less has stood up for and protected as much as possible Matthew Schaefer. So it looks like Mayfield, who doesn't fit Patrick Waugh's system as well as Adam Boqvist, who's going to start the season as the 7th defenseman. I think Mayfield is out there in part because of his size, because of the fact that he is more experienced, so he can help Matthew Schaefer on the ice as almost like another assistant coach, and because he is willing to stand up and protect Matthew Schaefer. Now, Mayfield is not an enforcer. He is certainly a big guy. He is certainly, somebody who can help in that department. I mean, he's 6'4", 215 pounds, pretty big for a hockey player. But, look, I'll say this. If this was 1993, you need an enforcer. You got to have it. And the Islanders have had so many great ones. You go back to, Gary Howitt all the way back in the 70s. You go back to the Bomber, Ken Baumgartner. You had, so many guys who could just, Rich Pilon could be an enforcer or a physical force on the team. Zenon Konopka, if you want to get a little more recent here. Trevor Gillies certainly filled that role when he was an Islander. But there's nobody to fill that role now. 30 years ago, it was a necessity. Now, I mean, since Ross Johnston has been gone, the team hasn't had an enforcer. And you don't necessarily need a guy whose only job is to fight. And I think this is where the distinction comes in. I am not disappointed that the Islanders don't have a guy on their roster who's going to play 5 minutes or less in most games, but is going to end up with 15 or 7 or whatever minutes in penalties. He's going to have a fight. He's going to take a tripping penalty, and he's going to spend almost as much time in the penalty box as he is on the ice because the only skill he has is dropping the gloves. I don't think they necessarily need a guy like that. That being said, do the New York Islanders need a few more guys with size and a few more guys who are willing to stand up for each other? Absolutely. And I was happy to see Mayfield do it in the preseason. But, in the regular season, it's not going to be as easy, maybe. I want to make sure that whoever's on the ice, that the Islanders stick up for one another. And we didn't see it enough last year, too often, whether it was Mathew Barzal taking a bad hit or another one of the Islanders' offensive players. If somebody takes a cheap shot at one of your guys, they have to know there will be a price to pay for it. And unfortunately, last year, too often, they didn't know that. So do you need an enforcer in the old school sense where there's a guy who is only known for fighting and can't do much else on the ice? No, you don't. But do you need guys who are willing to defend their teammates and who are willing to protect their teammates? Yeah. And I'll give you an example. Clark Gillies didn't like to fight. He could score 25, 30 goals in a season. He's in the Hockey Hall of Fame. He played on the first line. But everybody knew if you went after Mike Bossy, you had to answer to Clark Gillies. And while Gillies didn't like to fight, he was willing to do it. You don't need to be an enforcer to fill that protector role. So I'm going to say the Islanders don't necessarily need an enforcer, but they do need more guys who are ready, willing, and able to protect Matthew Schaefer, to protect Mathew Barzal, to protect Tony DeAngelo if he needs it, any other player who needs, who gets hit, who is attacked by the opposition. You need guys who are ready, willing, and able to lay down that message that you're not going to get away with it. And yes, I am concerned that the Islanders may not have enough of those guys. Scott Mayfield is going to sort of be the bodyguard for Matthew Schaefer to start the season. We'll keep an eye on that and see how it goes. I mean, Mayfield, not the best fighter in the world, but he's certainly willing. And like I said, he's a big enough guy to get the job done. Let's see how this plays out, and let's see whether or not the Islanders make a little progress in the physicality and defending each other department. We have got more to get to on today's show. We'll talk about a couple of the Islanders' top prospects who are off to a really good start this season. Plus, for our Islanders' birthday of the day, a top 5 pick who only played 31 games with the Islanders but went on to have a decent career elsewhere, never lived up to being a top 5 pick in the year 2000. Let's see if you can guess who that is and what his impact was with the team. All that and more still to come on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and you'll get $300 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays to increase my odds. I've tried player props and even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. So whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today to get started. Again, place that first $5 bet, and if it wins, you get $300 in bonus bets. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Check it out today. So Wednesdays during the season, we usually do our farm report. But at this point, Bridgeport has only been playing a couple of exhibition games. So it's not quite time for the farm report. We will start that next week, and we'll have a little help, and I'll talk about that next week with regard to that. And we'll give a shout out to somebody who is giving an assist to the podcast. But there are players at the junior level and at the college level who have already started their regular season. Let's start with Kashan Achison, who, after being injured in training camp, returned to the Barrie Colts of the Ontario Hockey League, and he was named the OHL's Player of the Week for the week between September 29th and October 5th. Achison played in 3 games. He scored 5 goals and added an assist. Barrie went 2-0-1 in those 3 games. And now he has 5 goals and 8 points through 6 games. And, this is a very impressive start. Here's a kid who is known more for his physicality than he is for his scoring ability, although his shot is considered pretty good for a young defenseman. He scored on a slap shot. He scored on a wrist shot. And by the way, Achison is a co-captain for Barrie. So, again, last year he scored 26 goals, had 59 points. He's ahead of that pace right now. And the injury that he suffered in that one preseason game he played for the Islanders does not seem to be impacting him early in the season. And we'll see whether or not he ends up making the World Junior team for Canada. Meanwhile, Cole Eiserman, sniper of the future, the Islanders' hope, is off to a really good start at BU. And he's moved up to the top line this year. And he's playing left wing with Sasha Boisvert of the Blackhawks organization and Ryder Ritchie. And he lost a little weight, which is interesting. Lost 11 pounds, down to 189 pounds. But he seems to be progressing now. His school, BU, opened up against Long Island University. And Eiserman, he has scored a couple of goals already in his first game. Now, I'm not going to sit there and say he was perfect. He still, again, has some work to do away from the puck. But 2 goals, drew some power plays, and again, seems to be making progress as he begins his second year of NCAA hockey. So great to see Achison, this year's first round pick, third of the 3, and Eiserman, last year's first round pick, 20th overall, off to good starts this season. And again, we will commence our weekly farm report next Wednesday, and we'll also do 1 day a week a prospects report for players who are not at Bridgeport, but whether they're playing in Europe, in juniors, in college, and we'll keep an eye on them because we actually have prospects to discuss now, whereas in the recent past, we kind of didn't. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. Let's see if you guessed who it is. Today is the 44th birthday of former Islanders winger Rafi Torres, the Toronto native, first round pick, 5th overall by the Islanders in the 2000 draft. Made his NHL debut with the Isles in 2001-2002. Played 14 games that year, 17 games with the Islanders the following year. Scored a total of 6 assists in those 2 years, 31 games combined. Ended up going to the Edmonton Oilers in 2003-2004 and put together back-to-back 20-plus goal seasons, including a career-high 27 in 2005-2006. Later played for the Blue Jackets, the Sabres, the Canucks, the Coyotes, and the Sharks, but never developed into the power forward that the Islanders hoped he would become. Scored 137 career NHL goals and 260 points in 635 games. Add 497 penalty minutes. He scored 11 playoff goals and 28 points in 68 Stanley Cup playoff games. None of those with the Islanders. And look, Torres, again, he had a few good years in Edmonton, but never lived up to being the 5th overall pick in the draft. But we go back to a special moment for Rafi Torres, January 3rd, 2002, at the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum. The Pittsburgh Penguins are the opponent. J.S. Orban, the goalie for Pittsburgh. The Wizard of Oz, Chris Osgood, in between the pipes for the Islanders. And basically, in the third period, with the Islanders up 3-1, our Islanders birthday of the day, Rafi Torres registers his first career NHL point. He and Mats Lindgren set up Mark Parrish for a goal. The Islanders go on to win the game 4-2. You only get one first point, and this was the first for Rafi Torres. He was a +1. He had the 1 assist in this game, 4 penalty minutes, and had 1 shot on goal in just 6 minutes and 21 seconds of ice time. Islanders outshot the Penguins 35-20 in this game. 18 saves for Chris Osgood. But for Rafi Torres, a memorable moment, his first NHL point. He is our Islanders birthday of the day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until the Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. You could find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL, on YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. If you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You could follow the show on X at Locked On Isles. You could follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR, VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and I am live tweeting during every Islanders home and road game, so join me for some instant insight and analysis, and it's always great to talk a little Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. Everydayers, we are back tomorrow. We will preview the season opener. We are 1 day away from the start of the new NHL season and from Matthew Schaefer's NHL debut, so we'll get you ready for that, plus the latest Islanders news, notes, and happenings. Until then, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe, and of course, let's go Islanders.